The Fault in Our Stars. You may be wondering whether or not you want to read this book, and I'm going to briefly explain the book to you and tell you whether or not you should read it. The book is written by John Green, and it's a #1 New York Times bestseller, and it has won many awards as well. As many of you may know, there is a movie recreating the book. Well, you might be thinking, why read the book when I can watch the movie? Well, from my personal experience, I have read the book and watched the movie, and I personally think that the book is 1,000 times better. It just has much more detail, and you kind of feel like you're with the characters and you're doing everything with them, because I feel it's a much more emotional ride when you read a book than when you watch a movie. So now I'm going to get into explaining the book. So the book is about a young girl called Hazel Grace, and she is diagnosed with cancer. And she meets a boy called Augustus Waters in a cancer group, and they both kind of are going along the same ride, cancer. And Hazel, she got diagnosed at the age of 14, and during the book she's 16. For me personally, the introduction was really effective. Right from the start, the first paragraph, it already pulled me in, and I really wanted to read the book since then. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the first paragraph. So it starts like this. Late in the winter of my 17th year, my mother decided I was depressed, presumably because I rarely left the house. Spent quite a lot of time in bed, read the same book over and over, ate infrequently, and devoted quite a bit of my abundant free time to thinking about death. So, it's a kind of sad introduction, but honestly, I really want to find out what's going to happen to this girl, Hazel Grace. So I really like the introduction. That's the types of introduction that I like, that they kind of give you a brief overview of what the book is about. So, going on to the climax. Climax, I personally didn't like it because I cried. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it's sad. Some things are going to happen during the climax that you aren't going to expect at all, such as, spoiler alert, Hazel and Augustus fall in love, and they go on a trip to Amsterdam, and they visit a few locations there, and that's where they really, really share a bond, which, personally, that's a really big climax to me because love. The love between the two characters really brings them out of a depressive mode that they're in because they're dealing with all the cancer. And especially Hazel Grace, because she's the one that, as I read from the introduction, she showed that she's really depressive and she's not a really sociable person. So when she found someone that she can actually relate to, I honestly think that that's one of the most important aspects of the book. Something I really didn't like about the book is, as I said, they become in love, and Hazel Grace, she becomes happier and happier. But near the end of the book, something bad happens. Another spoiler, someone is going to die that you didn't expect is going to die. Augustus. So I really didn't like that of the book. That really made me mad. I really wanted them both to have like a happy ending because I really like romantic books, because that's my style of reading. Although I didn't like the conclusion, I still really recommend this book because I really liked it. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about conflict. The tension in the book is mostly the actual illness, cancer. Because there is not much conflict between the characters, they all seem to get along, although there is a bit of conflict between Hazel Grace and Peter Van Houten, which is her favorite author, which she goes to meet in Amsterdam during the middle of the book. So yeah, there isn't much tension between characters at all. It's just really, the book is all surrounding around the cancer and Augustus Waters and Hazel Grace's relationship. So the whole conflict between this book is about the cancer, which is an internal conflict because it is something that happens to you internally and not externally. Yes, you kind of can tell when someone has cancer if they have shaved hair, if they have around like their medications and stuff, but it's internally, and that's what Augustus Waters and Hazel Grace are trying to beat, to get better, to become healthy again and not be sick anymore. So that's what they're fighting. And Hazel Grace and Augustus Waters, they both have to come to terms that they do have cancer and there is a possibility of them dying at a young age. The conflict is not resolved by the end of the book, as they both have cancer by the end of the book. So yeah, it's not resolved at all. They still continue to have cancer. I guess Hazel Grace's depression does get resolved because of Augustus Waters, but not their. The characterization of the book is quite simple, to be honest. There's not that many characters. The characters are, the main ones are Augustus Waters, Hazel Grace, Peter Van Houten, their parents, and their cancer group. There's not that many characters at all. Their characters do go through a massive change, in my opinion, especially Hazel Grace. She was coming from sadness, and she met Augustus Waters, became happy. And Augustus Waters, he was always kind of bubbly from the beginning of the book, so he didn't seem to have much change, although he did fall in love with Hazel, so I guess he changed in that way. And I guess Hazel Grace just started forgetting about her cancer and made her feel better. And the protagonist and antagonist of the book are Hazel Grace and the actual cancer. So the protagonist is Hazel, as she is the good person in the book. She's main character and the good person. And the antagonist is cancer, because that's the disease that kind of ruins the whole book story and her relationship. And in my opinion, these characters are 100% believable, because if you got diagnosed with cancer, you would obviously be sad and overwhelmed about it. So I would be just like Hazel Grace, sad and not happy about it at all. So yeah, I do believe it is a believable characters and a believable story. It could happen. I really find that this book could have been based on a true story. So yeah, this is everything that I think about this book. I think that you should definitely go out and try to read this book, because it is a really good book. And my rating for this book would be a 9.5 out of 10. 9.5 being because I didn't like the conclusion, but the rest of the book was absolutely amazing. So yeah, bye!